The box seat brought to you by our stable of sponsors: Woodland Stud, Brecon Farms, New Zealand Bloodstock Standardbred, Stonewall Stud, the clubs Alexandra Park, Cambridge, Addington and Ashburton, Garrard's Horse and Hound, and IRT. It's your horse and our passion. Hi everyone, welcome into another edition of Your Box Seat, and yes, a big thank you to our supporters, our stable of sponsors. Michael Guerin, not many sleeps to go now to IRT New Zealand Trotting Cup Day.
Thank God, Gregory. Hi to everybody around the country, even if you're watching offshore in Australia or further afield, Gregory. We had a viewer last week I saw on YouTube from France, so welcome to everybody around the world. It's here. Cup week is upon us, Gregory. We're now getting to the phase where the fields are out. We can start to talk about prices and markets. It's felt like the longest Cup week build-up ever, Gregory, because obviously some of these horses started racing well back in July. I'm glad it's here. I'm glad, fingers crossed, we can have a big crowd at Addington on Tuesday, Greg. It's finally the party we've all wanted. The question now is, who wins it?
Yeah, exactly. Let's get right into it by going back to Kaikoura from the weekend, a magnificent two-day carnival once again. Here was the Kaikoura Cup, and this was pretty familiar. We saw it last year, the colours of Robert Dunn with son John in the bike and Classy Brigade taking out back-to-back Kaikoura Cups.
Triple Eight's running on, 100 metres to go. Classy Brigade leads Check-In. Ashley Lopez, Triple Eight coming at him, but it's back-to-back cups for Classy Brigade. The People's Horse won it. Classy Brigade beat Check-In 30, the Ashley Lopez or Triple Eight.
Back-to-back wins, John. He's racing in sublime form.
Yeah, great form, Greg, and that is a massive key to this horse. Like he generally steps very well at the start, puts himself in great positions, which is a big help.
Today, Ashley Lopez came and had a bit of a look early on, but there was no lead for him, and he just travelled beautifully.
Yeah, he did. It's, like I say, it's hard. Once you get to the front, it is hard to pick one back. So I chance we decided to do that again today, and luckily paid off.
All right, we're 8 days out from the Cup. Is it fair to say that he's going better than last year?
Yeah, some of the runs were very good prior to coming here, and like I say, if he's going as good, we'll be wrapped, and gets just a wee more luck than he did last year. We'll be even happier.
Front row draw in a couple of days' time would be ideal, one would imagine.
Yeah, that'd be a big help. So hopefully we can grab that, and like I say, picking away like he normally can, put us in a good spot again, be very happy.
Your third win in the Kaikoura Cup. Congratulations to you.
Thanks for that.
Diamond Moose, the likes of Elva Cola had won it a couple of times, Smiling Shard in recent times, and the Cup winner Arden Rooney went back-to-back a few years ago. He was dominant from the top end, Michael, and once he found the front with his manners, gee, it's a hard track to pick up a horse with his ability.
Yeah, no surprises. The performance, the level of where he's at, none of that surprises us after what we've seen this spring and getting into the summer. Pretty much we thought the horse who trailed potentially could be the horse who ran second. It's exactly how it panned out. It was a typical Kaikoura Cup. Not sure the Cup winner was in that field, Gregory. If it was probably Classy Brigade, and that's about it. I don't think many of those behind the Classy Brigade could win next week when you consider the big three weren't there. The big question mark out of the race for me was if he does what we just saw there, which is jump to the lead, and is the horse in front with 2 laps to go in the Cup, Gregory, does he hand up? Because there's not many horses who would attack or try to get that roll off him, and there's not many horses in this Cup you would give that roll to. The two obvious ones would be Spank Him or Copy That, and that's because Shelf Assured's off the unruly, so unlikely to be the first horse there, Greg. To me, that's the entire riddle of the Cup next week in many ways, Gregory. So we're doing this show obviously before the New Zealand Cup field comes out. What do you think John Dunn would do?
Well, after last year being unlucky, maybe he'll take luck out of play. Maybe he'll just say, I can't afford to be unlucky. In saying that, Michael, if he does hand to either Copy That or Spank Him, I don't believe either of those two horses would be handy again. So therefore, he would be sitting in the trail and in the prime position.
And particularly because he was able to win at Addington a couple of starts ago coming from last, which is a new string to his bow. I'd never seen that version of him before. So maybe they think they have a crack at that. I think it's the whole key to the race, but also it depends on when these horses do turn up outside you, if in fact he does lead, of course. And also who's on your back. For example, if he has Spankum gets there first or Copy That gets there first, they would probably beat Classy Brigade Gregory for speed in a straight line. So then you do consider lots of things for John to think about. I think he holds the absolute key to the Cup next week if all things play out as we expect them to play out in the next 6 or 7 days or 5 days now.
Yeah, exactly. Let's hear from those just in behind Classy Brigade, including the big winner out of Monday's Kaikoura Cup in Chicken. Man is the key, got in the right spot.
Yeah, they said he's a good beginner. He jumped away, followed the right horse. I thought he sprinted up the straight pretty good. I was halfway up the straight, I thought maybe, but he probably 55 half, he can't run any faster than that, but he did hit the line nicely, so, and we're happy with the way he pulled up.
All right, so he's put his hand up seriously to make that 15 now.
Yeah, he should get a start with that running second today, so hopefully fingers crossed that he does.
Well, that was a replica of the run of Cruise Bromac last year. Let's hope it's a replica in 8 days' time.
Yeah, let's hope so, Greg. Obviously, pretty excited the way he went today. He had no favours. He stepped well, but obviously a couple under him were able to land the fence. Just sit outside Classy Brigade the whole way around here is no easy feat. So, just really pleased the last 100. They really attacked the line well and never give it away on a pretty slippery half around here, and just thrilled the way he's pulled up. So, I think we're in with a chance if things go away. I think he's a definite runner's chance.
That was a really solid performance.
Yeah, pretty happy with him. He was a bit off the last time he started and the humping hard about coming down, but he trialled okay. Good run, got a nice trip, so hopefully that'll help him going into the Cup.
Bit to like about that, Curdy?
Yeah, he ran home good, Greg. Yeah, probably a bit slow for him, but he was actually on the bit most of the way. Travelling was quite good because he's usually pretty lazy. So I was pretty pleased the way he finished it off.
So those were the thoughts of those beaten in Monday's race, Michael. I thought Ashley Lopez was really good and showed us enough that with the right run, he's probably in a bank of about 4 or 5 horses. If they get the right run in the Cup, they can run in the top 4. And his run was very similar to last year's winner in Cruise Bromac.
Yeah, he was good. He stuck on. He's never a horse I've thought of as being overly brave or tough. Not that I don't think of him in those ways, but that's not the first words that come to my mind with him. So I think he's a horse who will be looking for a trail in a Cup, as will probably 10 of the 15 next week, Gregory. I think a lot of horses in this race would need a lot to go right to win. I think there's the top 4, Copy That, Spankum, Self Assured and Classy Brigade, and then there's a gap to the triple weights and maybe the Ashley Lopez type horses, and then there's horses who probably are running for spots 4 to 15. That's not being disingenuous, that's on form. Things obviously don't always work out that way, Greg. When it comes down to the winning chances in the market, I think it's really interesting at the moment. We have a 3, 3 and a 4 in the prices. Well, that adds up to 90% of the market. Now, if you think Classy Brigade's going to start at $10, that's another 10%. That means you're at 100% in 5 horses or 4 horses. Well, if the tote's going to play to 115%, that gives you 10 more horses at 1.5% each. That means they're all going to be paying $60. Well, that's not going to happen. So something has to move in there, Gregory, by the market.
Who do you think that'll be, Michael? Which horse do you... Is it Spankum or is it not going to be Spankum because of the Aussie interest in them knowing him being a Miracle Mile winner?
It'll be incredibly draw dependent. It'll come down to the fact that people want to back horses they perceive will be on the front end of the field in all harness races, even if it doesn't matter that much in the Cup. I think it matters more this year than it's mattered for a while because, okay, let's say Classy Brigade leads and he hands to Copy That. Well, how are they going to beat him? Or if he hands to Spankum, it's going to take an enormous run to beat him. Or if by some fluke, Self Assured gets around them quickly. So people want to be on those horses in the front end of the field. So whoever draws the second line or worse, even a horse who draws 8 or 9, people will perceive that to be a worse draw than it's not. I think that's where the market will head, Gregory. What you'll find is on the day, once Betfair gets into play and the overseas people start betting, there'll be a rush late for a horse. And there'll be no logic to that. It'll probably be a strike rate type horse, which is Self Assured or Copy That, and that will push everything else out on the tote. So, look, a lot's going to depend on that barrier draw and how people perceive this to be happening. But I still come back to that same question, Greg. If, and it's an if because Classy Brigade could draw the second line, if he leads, would they hand up? And I think point blank, Copy That would have too much speed in a straight line for Classy Brigade if they decided to boogie. And I think if the two of them got involved in a speed duel early, neither of them would win. So I think Copy, that's the most likely horse they would hand up to Greg, because it wouldn't hand, whereas Spankin would have the potential to hand to a self-assured Gregory, and then that puts Classy Brigade free deep. We're talking about scenarios here. That's some of the scenarios, because the people watching the show are the sort of people who love thinking very deeply, Gregory, about our greatest race.
Yeah, and on Monday night, the preview show, 9 p.m, we will have all of those players you're talking about on our show, and we'll try and get that insight into what they might do. Some of them will keep their cards pretty close to the chest, but we'll do our absolute best. So the New Zealand Cup markets, well, by the time you see this show, it'll be well out. The group races will all be out by 6 p.m. on Wednesday night, so we'll have that for you too. And all other races for Cup Day will be out by 11 a.m. on Friday. Plenty of options too, Michael. Matt Peden's come through with a box seat special. You and I are going to have our best bet of the day. They're going to multi them up, put a bit of percentage into that too. The likes of the winning time over and under, that'll be available. Classy Brigade to finish in the top 2, and if he finishes 3rd, money back. A few other things, first time winning driver, and some Quinellas and exactas and those sorts of things. So the NZTAB making it very appealing for you to get involved in having a punt in IRT New Zealand Cup Day.
Yeah, and that's great. The service has been really good on the harness racing with early markets and futures markets and a whole lot of different things. Just going back to the Cup, Gregory, obviously we have to record this under different circumstances these days than what we used to. And we're unsure about whether Self-Assured's going to be on the Unruly. I mean, I presumed he was going to be after Mark said he would be on the show last week. It looked like in the noms maybe the Unruly had been taken off him. So that's a crucial part to the Cup too. I'm not sure if they take him off the Unruly with a hill step. So of course we'll talk more about that more in depth in Monday night's big preview show. But that's a crucial component to the race as well, even if he is off the Unruly, I wouldn't expect him to be the first away. So.
Hey Michael, I'm giving you a wee tip. If he draws barrier 1, that'll change things significantly.
Well, it changed the market. Ironically, it might not change the race. So it's a strange thing. We're getting so used to missing away in races or being a little bit iffy like he was at Ashburton that it's easy to forget he actually led the Auckland Cup last year. So there's a few things to play out there. But of course, we can talk now about what we're seeing, but we can also talk more in depth on Monday night. It's the biggest preview show of the year. It's the biggest harness racing show of the year every Monday. And this year, Greg, we're lucky to be having so many of those big players who will be talking to us, and it might be the only place you get a chance to hear from them.
All right, let's go back to Kaikoura from Monday and the aged pace. It's become a very good race. I think we're up to the 16th edition. So let's go back to Kaikoura and have a look at this classic. And on pace you needed to be once again.
Now, William Wallace leads Bad to the Bone. Aqua Sancta Belmont Major running on. Wider out Glenliddy Chief. It's still William Wallace, a half a length away. Bad to the Bone. Aqua Sancta trying to wind up. Still William Wallace in front. Holding off Bad to the Bone and Aqua Sancta. It's William Wallace in a gallant victory. William Wallace won it, beat Bad to the Bone. 3rd to go by Aqua Sancta, 4th in Belmont Major.
Bad to the Bone had a decent look for the lead, but there was don't argue from Blair Orange. There was no way that was going to be there.
No, I just had to wake him up a bit, mate, to be honest. He was a bit laid back in front, but I didn't really want to follow anything else once we got there, and we had an easy enough time, but it was pretty straightforward.
Good day out for Mitchell Kerr and yourself, driving for him with the experience he had, obviously with his father early on, and his ability to condition a horse has come to the fore again here.
Yeah, I think we all know how good trainer Mitch is, and his horses always look immaculate, and to him and his staff and his wife Ellie, they do a great job, and Kersey's normally a good fella to drive for.
All right, congratulations to you, Blair. Another big race win for you.
Cheers, mate.
Well, that was a cracking run.
Yeah, he went super, he's just got to learn to step away a little bit quicker now, and hey, I think he's only had a couple practices at the trials, so that was a big moment for him today, and I think he handled himself pretty well, he a little bit slow away. If I'd stepped a bit better and been able to lock him, I think the race would have been a lot different. Had to sit parked, obviously, from a long way out and fought on pretty bravely, so he's a horse that's getting better and better with each run, and I think he's got a pretty bright future.
Tim, he's come a fair way in his last few runs.
Yeah, definitely, Greg. Just wrapped with him. He's really starting to live up to the reputation he sort of had early on now, and he's a happy wee colt, and his work suggesting that at home. And he's got another cracker again today. But take nothing away from the winner. He was too good for us on the day, but he's punched above his weight today for, like you say, big step up in grade, and just wrapped the way he handled himself through the stand, and he kept trying right to the line. So he good confidence run heading into Cup Week. I'm sure he'll be placed somewhere pretty nicely there.
Yeah, good race for Mitchell Kerr. He won it with Toledo, of course, Michael, and he drove a winner, no nuke skipper, in race number 1. But in front, home in 56 and change, made William Wallace very hard to catch. But I'm pretty impressed by Bad to the Bone. I think he's got a massive future, sitting parked in that race and fighting on really strongly.
Yeah, I think they're both horses who may not be horses who are going to get to open class and dominate, but I think they'll get to open class, Gregory. They both have that look about them and that feel about them. So William Wallace is a horse who's sort of flown under the radar a little bit. He's bounced down to the deep south a couple of times and raced down there, so sometimes people don't put the big tick next to that form. I think he's an open class horse for sure. Bad to the Bone has lots of options heading forward, particularly if he can learn to step away from a standing start, Greg. And Aquasanctus is a horse who's really impressed me, because about 4 or 5 starts ago I'd given up on him. I thought he was half a cat, but I think they've changed something about his training, or they've changed something about him, because he seems far more dialed in at the moment. It's a great race, and I'm really glad that PGG Wrightson, who started this race, who don't have as big a footprint in the industry as they used to, Gregory, initiated this race all those years ago, because it's got a really crucial place in the industry for horses who aren't maybe yet standout Group 1 horses.
What does that term mean, a bit of a cat? Is it like they're a little bit soft, or just explain that to me?
Just a little bit, maybe not quite as brave as some other horses. That was what I thought Aquasancta was, but often, Gregory, that's because a horse has got ulcers, or its teeth are annoying, or there's plenty of reasons horses, as you know, being from a horse family, that they don't put their best in. But he was a horse I was willing to ride him off, and now he's a horse who's probably got a bit of appeal heading forward, and definitely is more sellable than he would have been, say.
Well, he was well backed, wasn't he, last year in the Size Stakes final? In fact, an avalanche of money came for him.
Yeah, well, that's the worst thing that can happen to a horse is early in its career, when it starts getting the love from the punters, and then it only has to get beaten a couple of times and everybody hates it. So I think he's a horse who's bounced back. He could have quite a good cup week, but I think there's also lots to take out of races like that, because as we've seen so far this open class season, 3-year-olds even the 2-year-olds, it's not just a walk up and win situation for the All-Stars, and I think that's really good heading to Cup Week, Greg. We've had a couple of Cup Weeks in the last couple of years where they've won 6 or 7 races on Cup Day, and they might do that next week, but I don't think they will. And I think that's really good for the punters, because they can go, okay, I can bet against them, and it makes the markets more interesting, rather than, oh, well, they'll just win this at $1.20 or $1.40. So I think next week has far more permutations for punters, and will be far more of a punters week than just a blue wave.
Yep, I totally concur with that. Brecon Farms trotting performance of the week also came on Monday's big race day there at Kaikoura. So let's go back and see a horse that has moved significantly in the rankings. In fact, burst his way into the Majestic Sun Dominion on show day.
Heavyweight Hero trying to wear him down. Then Midnight Dash and Tough Monarch. 150 to go though. It's Majestic Lavros holding off Heavyweight Hero. Then Midnight Dash. Back for redemption, the Kotzikas colours. They'll get the 2020 South Bay Trotters Cup with Majestic Sun. Majestic Lavros won it. Beat home Heavyweight Hero, Midnight Dash third.
Just start number 18, win number 6, had a little bit of vet treatment on his hocks, and wow, in front, too strong. He had Heavyweight Hero on his back, Michael. We'll get to the beaten drivers shortly to hear about Sunday Sun and, of course, the Galloping Matuatana and the likes, but he couldn't have been more impressive than that. He's certainly a trotter on the rise.
Sure is, and look, that race probably suited him, but he's still in a super time. Sam's driving really well. Mark Jones's team you'll see later in this show, obviously at the peak of their powers. I think next week's going to come up a bit quickly for him, Greg, to be a participant in the big 2 races, but I definitely think there's something there to say this time next year he'll be a factor in them, because forgetting the galloping horses, Heavyweight Hero's a proper horse who's in the markets for those big races, and he sat on his back and not only couldn't beat him, he couldn't make any ground on him. So yeah, I think he's arrived in open class, but then again, there's plenty of others who have arrived in open class too. Obviously, those races next week, we lose Habibi Inter now, and we lose Temporale, Greg. So there's a bit of a scramble to get into the Dominion, but it'll probably work itself out, to be honest. I think the only horse who's not guaranteed to start as we do the show is Muscle Mountain, and he'll be in if they want to start. I'm pretty adamant Cracker Hill won't start on the Dominion, so we'll get the right horses there eventually, but yeah, Majestic Lavros might be one of those horses next year.
Yep, definitely. Let's get to the beaten drivers, starting with Bob Butt. Well, he's just racing great.
Yeah, going great races every week, mate, but just finding one better than him. So, but geez, I was impressed with that horse of Mark's today. That was a big step up, and he won it easy too. So
Those couple gallop, Matuatana and obviously Sunday's Son. You knew that had happened. Did you sort of think coming around the bend, oh, I'm a really big chance of winning this?
I thought it was a real big chance, but like I say, fair play to the other horse. He was too good for us.
Ben, it's been a busy campaign, but he keeps stepping up.
Yeah, that's right. This race probably wasn't really on the agenda, but, we're pretty keen to make our case for the Dominion because we believe that he's definitely not out of it. And I couldn't have been more happy with him, to be fair. He didn't really handle the track as well as we thought he would. He never really trotted that good on the bend, so I was really holding him together most of the way. So to get third against that lot was a pretty top effort. So onwards and upwards, hopefully.
Well, your first stare on him, tell us what you thought.
Look, I was happy. He just didn't handle the track that well, Greg. Can tripped a few of them up around here at Kaikoura. We're sprinting quite quick off the top, and I just lost him for a few strides, and he balanced up after that, hit the line really good. So he knows Addington well. I think free for all, if he gets a good barrier, he's good enough to win that.
Well, that's the first blip on the radar this prep.
Yeah, dead right, but actually it wasn't the horse's fault really. Matuatana gallop, he didn't really check me, but I just checked the horse quite bad and go inside, so especially that speed and that bend, I was probably going too easy at the time, which is never mind, but yeah, we'll still take that move on.
Yeah, all right, so you just into the Dominion, that's the absolute plan, and you'll just continue with that?
Yeah, well, the way he felt today and the way he was sort of travelling and trotting, we don't need to go anywhere else, and like you say, it's probably my fault I'll take luck out of the equation come a couple of Fridays' time.
So those were the beaten drivers there, Michael. I suppose there's a question mark slightly on Sunday's Son, although it wasn't his fault. We know he has mental frailties, so galloping in a race like that leading into the Majestic Sun Dominion, I'm pretty hopeful, and John's pretty confident it won't play a part, but there's just that little inkling there because of his history.
Yeah, there is, because obviously he's now had a bad experience the last time he's been to the races, but I still think he's clearly the horse to beat. It doesn't bother me as much. Anytime a horse has something go wrong at Kaikoura, I'm happy to say let's forget about it. It's a wonderful, wonderful experience. It's probably one of the most special carnivals for harness racing in the world. But it's also got a slight novelty factor to the track. It's such an unusual scene with people inside and outside, and the track's so flat. And it wasn't his fault. Matuatana was always going to gallop at Kaikoura, and that just took him out of play. So I'm not bothered about him for next week at Addington. I'll be more concerned on Cup Day with 12,000 people. There'll be a lot less people than that on show day. So still clear top pick in the Dominion for me. In a market, Greg, I'll be honest, I'm not going to bet into, because we don't know who's in the field, for example, Muscle Mountain, until we see the free-for-all on Tuesday. So there's lots of moving parts in this race yet, unlike the Cup, which we pretty much do know.
Yep. Let's have a look at the Livermore New Zealand Trotting Free-for-all in the market as it sits currently. Top of the bill is Cracker Hill at $3.20, Muscle Mountain $3.50, Majestic Man $4.20, and then out to Heavyweight Hero at $7.50, Michael. If Cracker Hill, Majestic Man or Muscle Mountain draws 1 to 4, 1 to 5, which by now you will know that, they'll start favourite.
Yeah, they will. It's going to be totally draw dependent. Put any of those horses on the second line, they're close to double figures. Put them on the front line with the inside draw of the other two.
And that's what happened to Majestic Man last year, wasn't it? He drew the second row.
And he had no chance a long way from home.
Yep.
So this is a race they run hard, and it's a brutal race. In some ways, it's almost harder than the Dominion, because in the Dominion you can come from back in the field to win. You probably can't come from back in the field to win the trotting free-for-all. It's going to be a great race because these bunch are very even. There's not a standout trotter in the country at the moment. So, I mean, outside Sunday Sun, of course, who's not in this race. So I think, yeah, this is going to be draw dependent and a good betting race.
Michael, do you think Tough Monarch's got a chance of going back to get back again if he draws good, because he led last year?
No reason he can't. And look, again, we don't have a champion trotter. There's not a Monbay to scare him away. And Sunday Sun, who's the best of them, and Bolt for Brilliance is probably the second best trotter in the country. They're not going to be in the race. So there's a whole lot of horses in play. I'm not going to go around picking horses yet, because by the time the draws come out, everything changes. So,
yeah, of course.
As I said, we'll get deeply into that on Monday night.
Don't forget, it's 9 p.m. on Monday evening. We'll have all the latest information for you, including all those betting details. So 9 o'clock Monday night. If you can't catch that, it'll replay earlier in the morning. I think it's about 7 o'clock, and then replay again at 10 o'clock in the morning, leading in to the live racing action on Channel 62 TAB Trackside 1. So make sure you get your latest information from your box seat preview. As we go to a break, an opportunity to catch up with Ben Smith, who's the president there at Kaikoura. Massive 2 days for them, really enjoyable. 2.4 million they did over the 2 days. Incredible turnover by the club. Here's what Ben Smith had to say and reflect on another great carnival. Oh, I found a man with a big smile on his face.
Yeah, no, we're pretty happy, Greg. We've had a great day yesterday. We're well up on the tote. The crowd absolutely enjoyed their day out, and yeah, no, the sun was out and everything aligned. Yeah.
Yep, and the weather gods have played their part today too, because we were expecting some rain, and a very good crowd, and I cannot believe the camper vans out there.
Yeah, no, we've got an excess of 150 camper vans, and it just adds to the atmosphere. They're all out there. I walked through before, and they're all on their barbecue tables, and the barbecues are going, and the beer's flowing, so that's great. They're all smiling. So
it's a unique race day. It's a unique race day anywhere in the world, to be fair, and showcasing this to people outside of the area and getting so many visitors. That's what this 2-day meeting's all about.
Yeah, that's right. It's just it's sort of enhancing the harness racing New Zealand, really. You know, the people from all over the world really just love this atmosphere here. They see, and they all want to come to it, and it's just showcasing harness racing New Zealand, I think. Yeah.
Been a big collective effort. I'm sure you want to thank all your committee and all of those people that have helped you out.
Oh, the committee has been fantastic. Yep, we've got Bob Roxford back on board now, and Willie Ford, and you know, my uncles, and there's just put countless hours into this to get it all ready, and the biggest thing, we just had so much fun.
Yeah.
It's just been a laugh a minute, and I think, you know, if it wasn't for that, you know, why would you do it?
Yeah. Well, Congratulations on another wonderful carnival. We look forward to being here in 12 months' time.
Yeah, thanks, Greg.
It's Admirable leading by a length on Blazing Impact. Magic Mike keeps coming the outside, and here's Hugo Boss. It's still Admirable. Blazing Impact comes to on the inside. Admirable held on. Admirable wanted a nose on Blazing Impact 30, the Hugo Boss or Magic Mike.
Yeah, a really emotional win there by Admirable, who's aptly named because Trevor Beaton, who races this horse, and there he is in the light jacket there, going to congratulate Blair Orange. It's well documented that Trevor is not 100% health-wise. He's been a huge contributor, Michael, to the harness game, been on the board of Harness Racing New Zealand, a long-time breeder and owner. And at Kaikoura on Monday, when Blair Orange saluted in race number 2, she was a pretty cool win.
Yep, good on you, Trevor. Lots of us thinking of you, mate. Hang in there. It's a tough time for you and your family at the moment, but it's great to get a win, and that makes anybody, Gregory, feel better about life.
Yep, it certainly does. Leaving Kaikoura there, let's go to the Group 1 from Alexandra Park on Friday night. It was the Magnus Monroe final for the fillies as they turn for home. We'll get Aaron White to bring them home, and then hear from one of the winning owners from this outstanding filly, Better Twist.
Down the outside, Darling Me over the top of She's No Lady back on the inside. Watch Your Secret, Better Twist at the 100. Draws away by 2, Darling Me, She's No Lady, and Watch Your Secret, Better Twist. Better Twist down to the line to get the Group 1. Second, Darling Me, and third was She's No Lady.
Well, it's got to be a huge thrill, Ken, not only for the win, of course, but you're bringing new people into the game.
Yeah, look, Michael, very, very exciting. Like winning a Group 1 with a new syndicate, with a lot of new members, first-time race goers. In fact, some of them, I think it's probably the first time they've set foot on a racetrack. So very, very exciting indeed.
We'll talk about the horse in a second, but about the syndication, how does this come about? How many fillies do you look to syndicate each year, and do you have returning members, or do you, as you said, go out and get new people?
Yeah, look, it's a good question, Michael. Look, most of them, well, not most of them, but we do have a lot of syndicate members that renew it every year. Guys like David Sixton, Bill Commode. There's a number that just roll them over every year, and that's mainly through the success they've had. But of course, the key thing for me and for my wife Karen is to bring new members into horse racing, and that's what it's about. And I think for harness racing, or for that matter, any horse racing in this country, we need to have new participants. So we always reserve shares for new people.
It's a big time on the farm. I saw Al Mack had an Art Major foal this week, and obviously the horses are foaling down. You've also got a horse who's one of the favourites for the New Zealand Cup. So at the moment, harness racing is beautiful.
Look, it is. And in fact, as I said, look, we've had the last probably 5 years, we've had probably, well, as a seller, we've had too many fillies. But this year, I think we've had 7 colts in a row, and look, I'm pleased to say we've had some wonderful colts, probably 8 betters delight. So normally we end up with 8 betters delight fillies and a couple of colts. So look, it is exciting. It's a great time of the year. I mean, we've had a great spring. We've got grass up to our knees, and look, Nigel Fay, the new farm manager, is doing an incredible job, and surrounded by some great staff that have been with me a long time. But it is exciting, and as I said, winning this tonight, we've got, as I say, Spankham coming up in the New Zealand Cup, and he's doing everything right at the moment. It's going to be tough like any cup race, but it is a great time, Michael.
On to the filly herself. She has already gone a 152 2 mile from the outside of the second line. She might be a little bit special, this one.
Yeah, look, I think like the mother was very special. I mean, Twiston Twill was an incredibly tough mare. Mark Purden always said one of the toughest mares he's ever trained. So look, the family is an incredibly good family, and look, it just carries on. This filly, a little bit slow early on as a 2-year-old, a little bit green, quite big, gangly, but beautiful nature. And Mark has always said probably the toughest filly that they've got currently. May not be the quickest, but got a huge ticker.
Yeah, a terrific time as well, Michael. The 6th successive win in the race for the All-Stars, and by my reckoning, since 2015, when the partnership of Natalie Rasmussen and Mark Purden became the All-Stars partnership, that's their 100th Group 1 success. Now, when you really factor that in, Michael, and I haven't counted them up, but I think there's probably 26, 27 Group 1s every season, maybe a few more, but not too many more. It's 20 a season. In New Zealand alone.
That's domestically you're talking
domestically,
about. Yep. And obviously there'd be a stack in Australia too, and not just, easy, low-hanging
And
fruit.
that mare, Twiston Twill, we know how good she was. She's in Folder Better's Delight. There's a 3/4 by Rock and Roll Dance in the sale. And of course, King of Swing was the first foal out of her. So, there's a bit of blood there.
Yeah, and look, she's already usurped her mother, because that was actually the 2-year-old final. Her mother wasn't a good horse till she was 3. She wasn't a 2-year-old at all. So for this horse to be able to win what's basically an October 2-year-old race, unusual double. Her mother won the 3-year-old Sire Stakes Championship at Alexandra Park. So's this horse, but it was as a 2-year-old. So she actually has the chance to win both. She can return on New Year's Eve and win the other one, which would be exactly what her mum did. And her mum went on to win the Northern Oaks. She looks an Oaks horse all over, because she didn't just win, Gregory. She smashed them, sat park to smash them, came from the second line to sit park. So they've gone 52 too. Her real mile rate, the real time, was 151.5 or something like that. And that's going awfully, awfully quick when you consider it's October. The national record for a 3-year-old filly is held by the Orange Agent at 151.1, but that was set at Ashburton in June. It's a long way to June, Gregory.
Yeah.
This might be a little bit special, this filly. She might lack an inch of high speed, but because we run our miles so hard now, she can probably get away with it. And when she gets out to the 22s, or more importantly, the 2700s or 26s of our Oakses, she's just going to love it, Gregory. She's got a massive season ahead. For many of the trainers of these 3-year-old fillies now, Greg, the question is, what do you, not what do you aim them at, what don't you aim them at? Because they could race in a major race virtually every month. So the question is, they can't do all that, so what are you going to miss?
Yep, exactly. Let's move on to the big day down south. It's a wee way back now, but it was Thursday. This one with Stonewall Stard. We'll go back to the first of the three Group 3s. And Dashing Major Michael got the trail, was able to dash home and get the win here by the barest of margins, but the overall time 2:42.1. He signalled he was capable of winning a race like this with his first up third in a sire stakes heat.
A hell of a way to win a maiden race, isn't it? He's never won a race before, so he's left maidens here winning a good race. And I think there was a drift in the market because people thought he'd get crossed off the gate, which he did, but it didn't matter. He sat in the trail behind the right horse. Two very good horses hitting the line there, but he's bred to be good, and he is good. Where that ends up, I'm not sure, Gregory, because a lot's happening at the moment with these horses, and you've got to say, well, is he going to be in this final or that final, or is he going to head to Alexandra Park? Again, it's a matter of plotting a course with him because he still looks like he's learning, but you'll be stunned if he's not in the derbies by March, April.
Yeah, no, he's a very good horse. That was the first of them. The second is the Southland Oaks, which is very much sought after, and this drew an excellent field. There was a dominant favourite though, and as tipped out on this show, Stylish Memphis would start a short price favourite. She did, and the Macca Lodge Neville stud Oaks, and well, she picked them up and won really nicely, Michael. Look, brave second and third, but she's quality. Ricky May in the bite.
Yes, she is. She's quality. She's worth a lot of money too, because she's well bred and she's won in Oaks in Australia. She's got a lot of Australian name recognition for her foals in the future. Great to see the little man in the gold cap back there winning races. It's, as we know, that story could have ended so much more differently, Gregory. So again, she's got an amazing dream to come up against on Cup Day in that fillies final, but she's not going to be a hard horse to place, Gregory, because like Bella Montana and like horses like that, she's going to be able to go one side of the Tasman or the other, depending on what Mark wants to do with her and whether he's keen to travel her to another stable, because obviously it's really hard for our trainers to get across there the way things are at the moment.
Or maybe even another country indeed. Might go to the States as well. 8 from 17 that she has been able to win thus far. Let's move on to the big one, the last of the Group 3s, and Burnham Boy, well, he is a very good stayer, as was exemplified by this performance. Off the back of this, we'll hear from winning driver Sam Otley.
Burnham Boy's in for the fight. Pembroke Playboy can't reach him. Burnham Boy, he's still in front. Pembroke Playboy won't get there, and Burnham Boy goes all of the way. Burnham Boy outstays them. It's Burnham Boy to beat Pembroke Playboy. Love on the Rocks third.
A great front-running drive on Burnham Boy to get the Southern supremacy here in Invercargill today.
Yeah, cheers, Stace. He's a lovely wee horse, and yeah, things panned out how we would have liked, and you know, he got the top, and you know, did his thing in front, and you know, lucky enough to hold on. But yeah, he's a lovely wee horse.
He's obviously been going consistently, so it was good he could be rewarded with his 5th and his biggest win.
Yeah, for sure. We love coming down here, and these are great races. Sort of Mark targets his horses for these ones, and you know, it's always good to pull them off. And he's got a great owner in Kevin Watson, and you know, he's real passionate. And it's just a bit of a shame he's not here today, but I'm sure he's at home smiling happily.
It's been a good day for your employer Mark Jones today, with Stylish Memphis also picking up a good win in the Southland Oaks. Obviously makes the trip down here worthwhile for you and for him as well.
Yeah, for sure. You know, like these are probably our nice horses from out of the barn, from back home. So, like I say, he targets these races, so to pull them off is great. And yeah, she's a pretty smart filly. So to win that one, and then the one with Burnham Boy was just the icing on the cake, really.
Yeah, 3 group races in about 5 days, of course, with Majestic Lavros winning the big trot at Kaikoura. They made the late payment, Michael, for this horse to get into the IRT New Zealand Cup, but he didn't really have the credentials, hadn't won the group races. He won an age group race there, which brings into discussion how horses get into the top 15 and the rankings, and there's been a bit of trepidation. Why didn't Wild Excuse get in there? And the fact that she ran 3rd in the Methven Cup, a group race, but I think the club have got it right. You can't put horses into a race based on potential. It has to be done on facts, and I think that they've achieved that. We're always talking about spots 14 and 15, Michael, but a horse like DiCaprio finished 2nd in the New Brighton Cup, which elevated him into the top 15, and then someone has to usurp him. So it's always a good talking point.
Yeah, well, take a horse like DiCaprio, he's got no glamour about him, but you said he finished 2nd in one of the major lead-ups, so therefore he deserves to be there above horses who didn't finish 2nd in a major lead-up. You could make a case that you could have a pure rankings-based system and then leave a wild card. Yep. Now, you could make a case for that because it's good media hype and people love it. And then the club or the committee, which may involve, obviously, I think Andrew Morris from Harness Racing New Zealand joining the club guys, could then have one spot in case a horse didn't happen to get in there. Now, let's take, for example, Turn It Up. Say it was Turn It Up who hadn't won a major race for a long time or something like that, wanted to come back from Australia. Well, then you could say, okay, we'll chuck you in. It's a bit of novelty factor. I'm not sure you need to do it, but you could say you could do it. It's probably not a bad idea to create some hype. But again, you can always judge horses like Wild Excuse as a perfect one of what she would add to the cup, but that's got nothing to do with it. Otherwise, all front runners would be in races because they would add something to the race, and horses who might be 4 back on the fence or 3 back on the fence like Cruise Bromac don't add things to a race. So what a horse is going to bring to a race is irrelevant because otherwise you'd start Palominos because people think they're pretty. So it's got nothing to do with it. No. But there is a potential wild card factor.
Yeah, I don't mind that idea.
Yeah, and that would mean that, say for example, One Change. Say One Change came back in the country, or Amazing Dream, and they said we want to start that. Now that should be covered by the group race provisions anyway, but it would give you options to sneak a horse into the field. And to be honest, it's cunning. That's where the Everest and Peter V'landys is involved with the Everest, and Peter V'landys was involved in the Miracle Mile.
The Miracle Mile, yeah.
For a long time, it built on that sort of stuff, and I think it would add a lot of hyperbole to the race. So that's maybe one change I would make, but I don't think it matters that much because most years, Gregory, we end up with the right horses at the New Zealand Cup. I can't think of many in the time I've been doing this, which is about 30 years, where I've gone, well, it should have been in the Cup. This is a total disgrace.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, in the old system, you had to win 10 races anyway, so things have changed and times have changed as well. Let's leave that there and hear from the new man at the head of HRNZ, Gary Woodham, well known in the ownership ranks, but now he's got the top job. Well, first of all, Gary, on behalf of the industry, congratulations.
Thanks, Greg. Very much appreciated.
A job for some that would seem like a dream, given we already know your passion for the sport.
Yeah, it started in 1974. Rob Allen, New Zealand Cup, bunked school with my brother, and it's just gone on from there. Had a wee break, had some children after I got married, and gave it away for about 10 years. Couldn't afford it, got back into it when I had the money, and I love it.
All right, you've spent a lot of time at the TAB over the last 5 or so years. What are some of those learnings you're going to bring to HRNZ?
Oh, look, first of all, it's about communication and collaboration. When I went to the TAB, it was pretty broken. And we had to go and talk to those people that really mattered. It's called customers, owners, trainers, work out what the hell we needed to do. No different than harness. There are some broken things, Greg, and I'll be having those chats to people. Won't be us making decisions, it'll be collective decision making.
Yeah, well, you must be really looking forward to it though, and really looking forward to sinking your teeth into it in the new year.
Yeah, so 11th of January's first day, but I will be going in and out of the office from now, but because I'm going to go to a lot of race meetings and actually be a participant rather than work there. I am looking forward to it. You said it before, it's my sport and my passion, and rugby league was, but I'm too old now to do that, but I can continue my passion of sport with this one.
Right, before you go, a tip for the IRT New Zealand Cup next week, or is that pretty obvious?
Oh, look, I think you picked Spankum. I think Michael picked Copy That, so I'll say Self-Assured, and we'll take a trifecta. How does that sound? But I will be voting and betting on my own horse Spankum. So there you go.
We're in the home straight in your box seat with our stable of sponsors. Once again, a big thank you to them. Support them because they are supporting us. We've got to go around the world and have a look at what our Dexter Dunn continues to do, Michael Guerin. 3 big Breeders' Crown successes, and he was second in a couple of them as well with the likes of Better's Wish. But here he is doing the business. Amigo Volo, Manchego, horses that he's become very associated with, and gee, didn't get this one by much though.
Look, he didn't, but this is a dual New Zealand success, of course, trained by Nifty Norman. 3 on the night, for Dexter Dunn. That's remarkable. The Breeders' Crown is a massive, massive race meeting. And with any driver to win 3 on the night is a big deal. But you know, Dexter's driving for some of the biggest stables in North America, and he's done that completely as an outsider. 3 years ago, many of those people had never heard of him, and they sure as hell hadn't met him. He's handling himself incredibly well. It mirrors, obviously on a smaller economic pool, Gregory, what J-Mac is doing in Sydney. And he'll end up being one of the greats of all time, absolutely no doubts, Dexter. There's some really good clips of him on YouTube. We don't get a lot of coverage of him over here, Greg, but there's some really good clips about what he's doing over there, and he handles himself so well with the media. He's a global superstar of harness racing, Greg, and we should be very, very proud of him. It's a little bit sad he's not coming back to New Zealand, but that's the success, no different to what J-Mac's achieved, Gregory, where economically it makes sense for him to be where he is, but we can all be very proud of what he's achieved, and I'm sure Robert and Rose and John are too.
Yeah, absolutely they are. And we will make a point, Michael, of having a special interview with them at some stage and have it on our box seat. Right, we need to continue the action, and we are heading across the Tasman, and we do that, of course, with Garrards. It was the Queen of the Pacific. Our Princess Tiffany was scratched out of this, but speak no evil, we know well, Michael. She's a 3-year-old Breeders' Crown and Vic Bred winner. Started out at Emma Stewart's, went to Craig Cross's, now with Emma Turnbull, and she charged home to get this one.
Look, she did. That's her coming down the outside for Amanda Turnbull. The horse in front was better in force, and it got a little bit attacked. It would have been a great story if it had won, because Brian Gath, who's 76, was driving it. And look, 2,700 metres is probably just a little bit long sometimes for those horses from Menangle. She races predominantly over the mile. She wasn't attacked in front, but she copped a bit of pressure. But yeah, speak no evil, was a big training performance from Amanda. She was basing herself in her home state of New South Wales. She's gone back to Victoria, which was a gutsy move considering how things are in Victoria. She's just a wonderful trainer. Think of Kieran Manning, who we know really well in this country. Amanda's in that sort of league. I'm not saying she's as good as Kieran, because Kieran's body of work is bigger, but man, she's a good trainer.
Did I just call her Emma? I think I might have by mistake, but Amanda.
Honestly, Gregory,
yes.
Knowing Amanda, there's no chance she's watching this show. You can call her whatever you want.
No, and we've been lucky enough to have her here, of course, as part of our Dual Series too. And yeah, she's immensely talented and is bred to be immensely talented too. Speaking of Australia, we need to go back to the massive day, which is Redwood Day, of course, and Mexicana, who couldn't win a race here until Alexandra Park, went back to back and then has gone over there, Michael. And this is a really solid performance, of course, bred by Kate Marriott and Trevor Casey, so Kiwi success here, and out of Picaro, so a family that's got a lot of depth, and she was just too good.
Lovely moving horse. Now, Josh Dickey made the decision, along with the owners, of course. It's their money they're spending to go over there, but once you win a race with a filly like her, and the Redwood's a proper race in Australia, that's Greg Sugar's colours you're seeing there, because the drivers in New South Wales have to wear their own colours. That's why she's not wearing either Josh or Trevor's colours. Once you win that race, Greg, she's set up for life as a broodmare, because you're so much more commercial when people know the name of the mare in both countries. She now has the Breeders' Crown to go. The Breeders' Crown starts for the Pacers this week, and of course it's split fillies and boys. So she's now the hot favourite to win that too, Greg. Quite a good field, the Redwood. It's a standing start trot, not something we see very often for the 2-year-olds, but gutsy move to head across there. Josh Dickey, who now trains by himself, of course, with a lot of help from Sammy Kilgour, who's a huge part of the stable. But Josh with John, their record in Australia, Greg's amazing. Speeding Spur in the Derby, I think they've won 5 Breeders' Crowns, and of course they won a Great Southern Star. So you can make the case, outside of Mark Purdon, they are our most successful strike rate trainers in Victoria. And I think Josh is heading in the right direction, Greg. I've got a horse there, so I'm not being biased, but I know how he operates to be one of our top trainers for a very long time.
Yeah, and Pink Galars, of course, took out the Derby, Michael, and just continued a wonderful run for Maddie Craven. As I said last week, hasn't missed a dogfight, but just keeps on winning.
Remarkable. She's beating Elite Strider ran second in the Derby. He's a good horse. She was a little bit lucky because the horse galloped in front of her and created a path for her to get the passing lane. But she's done some very special things as a 3-year-old filly, and she's not on the Breeders' Crown, by the way. So I spoke to Maddie yesterday. He's absolutely pumped, but she's not on the Breeders' Crown. So that's a bonus for everybody else because she would smash them.
Yep, Menangle Saturday night, we'll see Ultra Orlando and King of Swing go head-to-head, and one change is 4 from 4 in Australia. We'll go
And one of your old mates is back there.
Yes.
Craig Cross has now taken over Buster Brady.
Yes, I see.
I know
that.
you're a big Buster man. Well,
Yeah.
Buster has joined Craig Cross. Now, that will be interesting
Yes,
because
it
most
will be.
horses who join Craig improve by about 3 to 5 lengths. If Buster improves by that much, maybe a good
It'll
race
be
in
interesting, won't it? Don't forget, Friday, show day, we have the Box Seat Punters Challenge. You can take Michael and I on, $4,000 in prizes. The club provides you with a meal and your first drink when you get there. Enter at addington.co.nz. All details are there. I think entries close on the Thursday. There's a whole lot of people in town have already said to me they are getting involved, and a few from out of town as well. So it'll be a big old go that on show day. So let's have a look at our hits and misses, courtesy of the NZTAB bookmakers, and might be me. 1,000 at 480 at Invercargill got things underway. Good bet there. Laver $800 there at the 950 at Kaikoura. That was a good watch. Couple that missed. Pembroke Playboy, who was brave. Mia Regaza had a good support, and Sunday Sun there, a $7,000 investment. Now it's time for us to have a look at the week ahead, of course, which ultimately will end up on IRT and New Zealand Trotting Cup Day. But around the nation we go, and Rangiora have a twilight type meeting there on Friday. 10 races. First of those goes at 1:04. Cambridge will complete a pretty big double there. 20 odd races between the two venues. 5:36 for the first one there. Invercargill on Sunday, 12:05, a 10-race program, and of course IRT, New Zealand Trotting Cup Day on Tuesday with the 4 Group 1s, the addition of course of the Neville Fillies final to this year's program, and the Dunstan Horse Fees Junior Free-for-All, 12:25 the first, and the big preview show of course most importantly on Monday night at 9 p.m. with yours truly and Michael Guerin. Last week, best bets, Michael. We were second, both of us, so we need to redeem ourselves here.
I'll be honest, Greg, I spent half an hour last night looking at the Cambridge fields and couldn't find a horse I loved. It'll be price dependent whether I bet there or not, but I thought Revitalise had some sort of chance. No luck last week at Alexander Park, getting back at a 153 9 mile, so probably the best of a bunch who I'm not going to be jumping on just yet, but of course once the odds come out on Thursday afternoon, Gregory, that could change.
Yeah, we've got a new sponsor of the segment too, Endor Contracting. Ronnie Dorr, big thank you to you, sponsoring the best bets of the week. On with Girls Let Loose at Rangiora. We're at race 9, number 15. If she brings her A game, she'll be winning that race. Not too many sleeps now, Michael, not only to the big day on Tuesday, but of course the all-important preview show on Monday night.
Depends how often you sleep, Gregory. Sometimes on the weekend I don't bother. So what also is going to be good for coverage is Friday, HRNZ.co.nz. They're going to have a big, huge New Zealand Cup lift-out type thing. You can print it off. You can't lift it out of the computer because that'd be weird. But you can print it off, and that's going to be put together by Courtney and Michelle and David and the team there. There's going to be a whole bunch of writing from myself and Johnny and Josh. So there's going to be plenty of information there for people who don't believe they get enough in their daily newspaper. Friday, HRNZ.co.nz.
All right, make sure you get that out for you, print it off, as Michael said, and do your study for the big day. That's been your box seat. We won't see you in 7 days' time. We'll see you on Monday evening.
And when I feel like confessions untold, I run wild, I run wild, I run wild.
Cruz Bromack and Chase Auckland. Spankham leads the cup field. The fixer can't get him. Cruz Bromack, Chase Auckland late. 100 to go. Spankham, Cruz Bromack the outside. Spankham, Cruz Bromack and Blair Orange win the New Zealand Cup.
Like you're